everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Solutions Podcast. This is the place where midlife women come to gather and listen and talk about how to let yourself shine without losing yourself in all the roles in your life. So I'm your host, Tara Simkins, and today we're going to do something that I really love. It's the beginning of the year. It's the first month of the year, and we have a tradition in the Soulshine Labs in January. We talk about Gentle January. So the idea is that you move into the new year not with such a bang out of the gates like sprinter's energy, but that you take the time to be gentle with yourself and to move slowly into the year, because the idea is, 12 months is a long time and you need the energy of a marathon runner versus a sprinter. So in that regard, I want to talk to you about shedding before you get into your goal setting. And in doing that, what do I mean by shedding? I mean, what are you not going to take into this new year with you? This is a Soulshine Labs inspired episode because everything that I want to share with you today comes straight from one of our live calls where our members shared what they're shedding as we leave 2025, which, by the way, happens to have been in the Chinese calendar the year of the snake, hence the word shedding, like snakes shed their skins. And 2026 is going to be the year of the horse, the fire horse, to be specific. And so we want to shed before we step into this energy of the forward motion of the horse. And the Chinese New Year isn't until February 17th. So the fact that we are doing Gentle January, we're taking it slow, we're still thinking about the things we want to shed and not bring into this new year, the timing could not be more perfect for this. So as you listen, I want you to begin to think of this as a collective shed list of what women like you who are in the Soulshine Labs are talking about leaving behind. And as you listen to their lists, I want you to begin to get inspired by what you might want to let go of as you enter into this new year. So this episode is for you as a midlife woman, especially if you're tired of carrying everyone else's emotions and if you want to learn a way to set boundaries even when guilt shows up. So that's just a little hint of some of the things that people want to shed. Guilt and shedding just that burden and pressure that comes from all of the roles that you play. And what they want to lean into in the new year is more of that lighter version of themselves that will allow their souls to shine. So if sounds like you, I want you to settle in. This one is for your nervous system, your soul, and your 2026 self.
Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Most everyone in the world is solving their problems the wrong way. Our problems come from our thinking, and we can solve them with our thinking. So whether you're at your lowest, just trying to grow, or whether you are trying to sustain growth over your lifetime, join us as we push the boundaries of our current thinking and redefine how we find solutions.
The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities.
This first part is the shed list ritual. And this is something, as I mentioned, that we did inside the Soulshine Labs in our class this week. And we are talking about this idea of shedding as we wrap up 2025 and we enter into 2026. Now, the year 2025 in the Chinese New Year calendar is the year of the snake. And so this is the idea of shedding old skins, letting the difficult truths surface and let them go as you move into the year of the horse, and with all of the energy of forward motion, power, momentum. But we want you to do that lighter than if you continue to hold on to these things. And the thing that I keep reminding all of the members in the Soulshine Labs is before you set goals, we want to set down some weight. So these are the questions that I asked the group, and I want to share with you today. Number 1, what are you shedding as you leave 2025 behind? What pattern, story, or role are you not going to take into 2026? And as you kind of sit with those two questions, I'm going to share with you some of the things that came up in the Soulshine Labs. It was very intimate, an intimate discussion, and yet it was so universal. The things that came up, especially if you are a deeply feeling midlife woman. So things that came up, guilt for resting, performing, any kind of performing for holidays, for family, beating yourself up over what could otherwise be a closed chapter, absorbing other people's chaos, unrealistic expectations that turn into criticism, and stuckness that might actually be grief. So today I'm going to share 3 very specific stories from the call with you. And as you listen, I want to invite you to notice, where in these stories do you hear parts of your own story? And what might you be ready to shed? Okay, here's the first story. This is what I call the good girl alarm. So this is for the person who has aging parents that you love and care about deeply. You may have dinner with your parents on a regular schedule, and whenever you are in town, and you may have said this to yourself before. When I choose to do something for myself and don't do something with my parents, I feel so guilty, even when I really know that I need some alone time or some rest. Can you feel that? You are not asking if, can I still be a good daughter if I need rest? And yet, there's something in your body that has already decided that you must be failing as a daughter just because you're choosing what you need, something as essential as rest or quiet time. And this is where I teach what I call the quote unquote good girl alarm. Guilt. Guilt that you have been, thinking about in a way as an alarm that you're being a bad daughter when, it sounds like, you did something wrong, or you're selfish, you're a bad daughter, a bad mother, a bad friend. You can hear how it is just guilt is telling you, you are not doing this right, you're failing. But what I teach is flipping what the message that the guilt alarm is giving you. And what I want to offer you today is guilt isn't a verdict of telling you that you are failing as a daughter, but instead it's an invitation. It's not proof that you're bad. Instead, it's an invitation to check in with what your values are and the identity that part of you that you are maybe over-identifying or even outgrown in your life. And so In this case, the guilt was highlighting for this member her need to make an identity shift in her life. She is no longer just the good daughter who always is available for her parents' needs. I wanted her to think of herself instead as a benevolent queen. I know it may sound a bit dramatic to you, but really think about this. A benevolent queen is a woman who is at the center of multiple people and multiple responsibilities, and she has a finite capacity. This is one of the biggest identity shifts for women in midlife. Moving from that place of, I must serve everyone, to the benevolent queen identity, which is, I am the leader, the matriarch of this family who stewards her capacity and knows what's best for both her and all of the people that she serves. And the number one thing that's best is that making sure that she is in good health and that she's well rested. And we call this type of identity shift in the Soulshine Labs, especially at this particular juncture in your life, in midlife, is moving from the identity of carrying all of these multiple roles: good daughter, good wife, good mother, good friend, good, boss, good business owner, good community advocate and leader, to moving into that soul role, the SOUL role that only you as one soul, the soul person you are, can play, the SOLE. So it's moving from roles to soul. And this is where my signature method comes in, the one that we use all of the time in the Soulshine Labs. We call this the stop, look, listen, evaluate, and pivot method. So with this particular member, and if you identify with her, this is how you would use this stop, look, listen, evaluate, and pivot method when you hear or feel that guilt come up. So stop. Okay, I feel guilty. And instead of saying, oh, I'm failing as a daughter, I want you to say, oh, wait a second, I'm activated by this. I feel guilty. Let's breathe. Step 2, look. Look at the guilt. Don't try to outrun it or berate yourself when you feel that way. Instead, look at the guilt. This is guilt. It's just an emotion. It's not automatically a fact when I feel guilt that I am a bad daughter. Step 3, listen. Is this about love or about approval? Ask yourself that question and listen for the answer. Am I feeling guilty? Is this about needing someone else's approval to tell me that I'm a good daughter? Or is this about love from the benevolent queen's position of love of self and service for others? Now, evaluate. What is your actual capacity right now? This is going to be a big theme for us in 2026 as you listen to this podcast. The difference between capacity and capability. If you are a regular listener to this podcast, what I know about you is that you are a highly capable woman, that you have a lot of responsibilities and a lot of people look to you to help them, whether it's your parents that we're talking about in this scenario, or your kids, your spouse, your partner, your friends, the people that you work with. People look to you for a lot of things. And so you're a highly capable woman. Unfortunately, you are limited in this physical body that you're in. And that is the question of capacity. What do I have to give? And so the evaluation question that you're going to hear me repeat this year in the podcast is, what is my actual capacity right now, to allow you to separate this understanding of what your capability is and the distinction with your capacity. Here's the final step in the stop, look, listen, evaluate, and pivot method. It's, what is one clear, kind, steady action that honors both my parents and me in this situation, that honors your capacity? And so if you need to rest, then I want you to begin to think of resting as honoring both you and your parents or whomever it is that you're caring for in the situation. Because the truth is this, that time that we have with our aging parents is getting shorter. It means it's very special. And I don't think we want to keep filling it with the version of us that, is not well rested, which means she's more easily frustrated. We really want to be able to savor these experiences with them and bring the best version of ourselves when we're with them. So I want you to begin to think of that well-rested you as the you that honors both. You're not perfect, This is not dramatic. It is just a very soul-led methodology. So here's my question for you. Where does guilt show up for you when you choose yourself? Is it with your parents, with your kids, with your work, with your partner? Just notice it. Don't judge. We're simply gathering information at this time. Okay, let's move on to the next member I want to spotlight. This woman is so wise. She's been in the Soulshine Labs for a long time, which means she's been practicing a lot of these tools. And she's gathered a lot of information. And with that gathering of the information, this is this methodology: stop, look, listen, evaluate, and pivot. In this process, you'll begin to collect so much data. And when you can see it as data, it'll help you in that pivot of what you need to do next. So she was sharing, because this class was right before Christmas, and you're going to be listening to this after, but you'll know how to translate this holiday topic. And you probably will have some fresh experience in your own mind, and you can think about the data that you could collect from your own personal experience. She shared that in years past, her home at Christmas was decorated to the nines. Parties, full-on decor, every ornament out. The house was just so, you know the drill. This year, she said, I decided we are not having anyone over. We are not entertaining. I've made a live wreath for the door. We've got our tree with lights, but no ornaments, because then we'd have to take them down. The stockings are up. The nativity is out. And I've decided this is enough. Oh my gosh. Can you feel that proclamation, declaration, exclamation for yourself that this is enough? Most women I work with have been conditioned to perform for the holidays. What do I mean by performing? Oh, you have to be that perfect hostess. You have to be the version of you that is magical, grateful, thin, put together, cheerful, never needing anything for herself. But what this member modeled for everyone else who was on the call was that, this rolls to soul transformation in real time. the roles that she has played in the past said, I must perform Christmas so everyone feels special and loved. But her soul shine version said, I'm allowed to choose what's sustainable, meaningful, and kind to me and to my people. I'm allowed to say, this is enough. I don't need for someone else to validate this for me or, come in and second the motion. You are a grown woman. You're the only opinion that matters when it comes to deciding what is enough for you. And this is what we call emotional leadership. Because when a woman decides, I'm not performing all the things for Christmas, I'm choosing comfort and presence over perfection. She's not just changing her to-do list. She's changing the emotional climate of the entire household. And why is this so important? I was just listening to another podcast from one of my favorite podcasters right now. She's, I think, a former CNN anchor, the Tasman Show. And she was interviewing the author of the book, Toxic Productivity. This book probably needs to be on your reading list for 2026, this idea of toxic productivity. And she was asking the author of the book, she said, did you ever see your mother rest when you were growing up, or was your mother always doing something? And they both had this conversation of how they never saw their moms rest. It didn't mean that their moms didn't rest, but when they were around, they never saw it. And this is why this type of membership, like the Soulshine Labs, I think is so important, because when you didn't see rest, healthy rest modeled for you in the household, then you saw lots of productivity and lots of busyness. You have to remember you saw that as a young girl. You didn't know what your mom was doing outside of it, but somehow you took a snapshot or a video in your brain, and then you are teletransported to the future, and there's a part of you that just pulls out those photographs or plays that video over, and it says, this is what a good mother does. She's always, always busy. She never rests because you never saw her rest. So when you're in a group where the women can say, oh my gosh, we're trying to relearn this. We're moving from these roles that we saw as children to this soul-led version of myself, to becoming this benevolent queen matriarch. That's important. So noticing for yourself and going back to the soul-led version, it's like, where's there room for fun? Where's there room for rest? Where's there room for laughter? And as what this member was, moving from perfection to presence, where's there room for actually noticing the tree and for remembering why you're celebrating in the first place? So as you're listening, this is what I want you to think about. You can reflect backwards on your holiday, and you could say, what would it have looked like for me to have called something enough in this past holiday season? What would that look like? And as I move forward in 2026, what would it look like for you to call something enough in the upcoming year and season? So I want you to mull that over. And maybe it's something like 2 side dishes is enough. 1 family visit is enough. Half decorated and fully present is enough. Just think of one place where you can lay down the performative aspect of the holidays and remember that you can still love yourself very deeply without losing yourself in the holiday bustle. And I'll tell you, for me, as I'm recording this, it's December the 11th, and I don't have a tree up in my house. And I feel so good about this. This is something I've been doing for a long time. And I was just talking to a one-on-one client yesterday. She's like, I feel like I'm drinking through a fire hose, have all the stuff to do at work. My adult children are coming home from college and from work. And I mean, my tree's up, my this, but I don't have XYZ. And I just looked at her and I said, you just have to decide for yourself what is enough right now. And I said, for me, I don't have a tree up and I'm not involved in this. I don't feel like I'm drinking through a fire hose because I've paced it out in a pace that allows me to enjoy the season. I'm so excited about decorating my tree this weekend, right in the midpoint of December. My kids love that tradition. They come home and they get to help with it. So it's not this performative idea of I have to have it all perfect before people come home. Okay. Here's the last member spotlight that I want to share with you from this call, because I think this is really especially beautiful. This member brought a reflection from another brilliant female midlife author in the world, a woman called Kate Bowler. And if you've never read Kate's book, it's called Everything Happens. If you've ever heard that saying, everything happens for a reason. She developed stage 4 cancer as a young mom. She's a professor at the Duke Divinity School. And when she was diagnosed with cancer, everybody would just kind of brush it off and say, oh, I know this is bad, but everything happens for a reason, and that's going to be a good reason, and that's going to be a great reason from God. And as a divinity professor, she's like, it just wasn't helpful for me to think that way. And so she wrote this book called Everything Happens, and then she has 4 reasons scratched out on the bottom of it. So make sure you follow her. I think she has a podcast. You can get on her email list, but you can follow her on Instagram. And over Advent, she had an email series, and this particular member was also subscribed to Kate's email. And this is what she shared, the message from Kate. Hope is not optimism. Optimism is the first thing to leave a room when things get hard, but hope actually stays in the room. She says, optimism is like a charming dinner guest, cheerful, easy to be around, and always sure that dessert is coming. But when the conversation gets heavy, optimism tends to slip out quietly. Optimism says, it's fine. It'll all work out. But as a grown women, we know sometimes it doesn't all work out, or at least it doesn't work out the way we wanted it. And hope is different. Hope isn't embarrassed by reality. Hope says, this is hard, and God is here, and the story isn't over. When this member shared that, she named something so many of us do. We've been trying to perform optimism instead of practicing grounded hope. And that matters, especially when life hands us the unthinkable, a diagnosis, a loss, a shattered expectation. So how does this connect back to that Soulshine framework that I shared with you? Well, when we're in that roles version of ourselves, we often feel pressure to be the positive one, the encourager, the one holding it all together. That's me. But when I can move into this toggle, see myself performing that roles version, and then hit the little toggle switch and move to that soul self, that benevolent queen energy, I can tell the truth. This isn't what I wanted. This is painful. And I'm not alone here. This is emotional leadership. And that's what I mean when I say, it is well with my soul. It doesn't mean everything is fine. It means I can stand here honestly with whatever is. Okay, so here's my question for you. Where in your life have you been trying to be optimistic when what you really need is hope that stays? Is there a situation where you can stop forcing the fine and instead whisper to yourself, this is hard, and God is here, and God is not done with this yet? So I've shared 3 stories with you today. The story of the woman shedding guilt and choosing rest. The story of the woman shedding performative aspects of herself, and the story of a woman shedding performative optimism and embracing hope that stays. 3 different lives, 3 different circumstances, but the same deep theme: women moving from playing roles to playing their soul-led self, women turning guilt from a verdict that says you are failing at being whatever that role is, into allowing guilt to be guidance for you, and women reclaiming their capacity as leaders in their own lives. And this is exactly why we practice the stop, look, listen, evaluate, and pivot method in the Soulshine Labs. Because these types of transformations don't just happen in one big leap. They don't just happen when you hear the ideas of it on a podcast. They happen in 100 tiny moments where you stop instead of steamrolling through something. Look at what you're feeling. Listen to the story underneath the feeling. Evaluate based on your capacity versus your capability, and pivot into a clearer, kinder, steadier type of action. So, in the next episode of the Solutions Podcast, I am going to help you take it to the next level. I'm going to give you the mini practice that you can begin to use for yourself as you move into 2026. So thank you again for being here, for being a listener. We are going to hit 100 episodes of the Solutions Podcast together this year, and I am so excited about that. And I have such a deep sense of gratitude for you. And I just want to say thank you, and I'm wishing you an amazing 2026. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet to the Solutions Podcast, please do it. There's just like a little bookmark icon. If you're looking at this or on Apple Podcasts, listening to it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or if you're watching it on YouTube, there's a subscribe button. That's very helpful for me. And it also makes sure you get the notices when the new podcasts drop. And then I want you to do one more thing for me. And I just want you to forward this. Just hit the forward button and forward this podcast to a friend. One of the reasons why the women in the Soulshine Labs love it so much is the sense of community and accountability. And if you share this podcast with a friend, you are creating a sense of community as well as a sense of accountability with at least one other person. So thank you again for joining, and make sure you subscribe because I want to make sure you get the practice that I want to share with you.
I ain't done living the life I'm meant to lead. And I ain't done loving the ones who cared for me. The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities. The left and the right and some faith in the fight, and your courage is all you'll ever need.